Hello everybody and welcome to our continuing coverage of the 24 Hours of Silverstone, the Hankook 24 Hours of Silverstone, the first round of the 24-hour Touring Car Endurance Series for 2017. I'm John Hindhaugh. Paul Trustwell is alongside me. Our sound and vision coverage of night practice about to get underway with the cars coming out in about 90 seconds time. Let's head straight down to the pit lane. It's a beautiful early spring evening here in the centre of England at Silverstone, and Joe we'll get down to Joe Bradley in just a moment or two with one of the pole sitters. We had our qualifying session set up earlier on this afternoon, and here are the results. Monlau competition in their TCR SEAT with the DSG gearbox was the fastest overall with a 2:13.436. That's 2:13.466, excuse me. And in fact, the first four on the grid when we go to green flag racing tomorrow will all be TCR SEAT. 303, 100 and 216 from respectively Red Camel Jordan.nl, Team Blakemolin and the Modena Motorsports teams, all within a second or thereabouts of that time. The best of the SP3 GT4 cars in fifth position, and we'll be talking to the Lotus Exige team of Endurance Autosport in a few moments' time. In the other classes, let me just run down. Where's the second GT4 car? That was the Team ABBA with Roll Centre Racing BMW, the car that won here last year, not without their issues as the green flag flies. They had a gearbox lubrication issue on that car. We'll go through the rest of the pole sitters in just a few moments, but as the cars are going out on their first lap, let's head down to Joe Bradley, who is in the pit lane with that Lotus team, who snatched the GT4, that's SP3 category here, pole position with a fifth overall, 2 minutes 14.576. Joe, happy team down there?
Gorgeous night, and I'm just having a lovely chat with
Tom Bradshaw,
who was the driver who qualified in the
174 Lotus Exige. Tom, firstly, class pole, that's a good start of the weekend, I would say. Tell us a little bit about your qualifying session now, the lap game.
Yeah, perfect start, like you say. I jumped in last, so we wanted to cycle all four of the drivers first of all, do the minimum distance required with all four drivers to give me the most time at the end of the session to try and post a lap. So we did a 4-lap run on new tyres. The car was set up really nicely, to be honest with you. Wasn't, you know, it was I pushed hard, but there's probably a little bit left in there as well, which was nice. So yeah, it was perfect. Absolutely went swimmingly, really. No issues with traffic. Nice and smooth. And
I see that there's a lot of attention going on in the car at the moment. I take it that's just general prep for the night practice?
Yeah, I mean, there's general prep going on, but also the car is fairly new. This is its first race, so there's still an awful lot of development going on, so we're trying new things all the time. So there's quite a bit of setup change going on as well. So nothing untoward, no issues with the car, no reliability issues as of yet. It's basically we're trying to squeeze all the performance we can from it.
Now, Tom, I'm going to show my edge because I remember you as a bit of a hot shot and a bit of a superstar in Formula Ford. Have you done much endurance racing?
I've done a little bit, yeah. I've done mainly the endurance racing I've done has been in prototypes. So I've done quite a bit in the CN stuff. So I've done V2V and the Speed Series as well. So I've done some sort of medium distance endurance racing, sort of 6-hour races, 3-hour races, but never a 24. So this is really new territory for me, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
You mean you're looking forward to being walking at 4 a.m. and being told to get in the car? Have you had any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm not particularly good at mornings, full stop, so I'd imagine 4 in the morning is going to be a bit of a challenge for me, waking up. But no, I can't wait. I've never driven at night either, so I'm really looking forward to the challenge, and I can't wait to get going.
Congratulations, Tom. Great pole position, great class pole position for SP3. Well done. Good luck for the race.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that's the pole sitter in SP3. It was the Monlau competition Seat Leon TCR V2 DSG that took the TCR and overall pole. Paul Truswell off to my right, very noisy 137, just going past our commentary box and in towards the first corner. Can you run down for me the other pole sitters, if you don't mind?
Yes. So SP3 we've just heard from. That's the car number 174, the Lotus Exige. I think we've already spoken about Bon Now Competition in the TCR class. Those two classes really are going to be the ones over which the lead is being fought. In the other classes, A3, 17th overall, the class winner or class pole there, Kevin Clark at the wheel of the BMW M3 in the A3 class. That's car number 140. He did 2 minutes 18.549. In Cup 1 for the BMW M235i's, that was the QSR team car number 154.
I don't think they were headed in that qualifying session, actually.
I think you're probably right. I must admit I didn't keep track as to whether anybody did get ahead of them. Their advantage in the Cup class was, what was it, 8... yes, about a second and a bit.
Wow.
Sorry, 0.3 of a second. It wasn't much of that, 0.3 of a bit for... Yeah, 0.3 of a second in the Cup 1 class, back to the RMA Track Days team car, Leighton Clark's BMW, which was second fastest in Cup 1. And the only other class we've got is the A2 class, and that was headed by the Honda Civic of the Area MS team, Carl Swift, the driver, and that's the car with Jack Fabi also at the wheel of the Honda Civic, number 91, 27th place overall. Only two cars in A2, but they were the quicker of the two at 2 minutes 23.879.
Thank you, Paul. This session 90 minutes long, and just kicked it off spot on time at 7:30 UK. Now, for those of you in the United States, we only changed our clocks last weekend, so we should be back to being 5 hours ahead of East Coast time and 8 hours ahead of the West Coast. And I know for a couple of weeks it was even more complicated than usual, but we are back to where we normally are. So,
except if you're living in Iceland, where they don't have summertime at all. So
very sensible.
Where you were on the same time zone as us, you've now slipped an hour behind.
Don't complicate things, Bob. My little adult brain struggles
You've got to talk to
so much.
Talk to the listeners in the USA. You might as well talk to the listener in Iceland as well.
True enough. The A2 pole sitters, Josh Barrett reminding me, team that regularly compete in the 750 Motor Club Enduros and the Civic Cup. The Carl Swift was the 2016 Civic Cup champion, so knows his way around a Honda, one might think. Be a question of whether he can keep putting it together time after time. He'll probably be doing the sharp end of a half or even more of a season's driving in the next 24 to 36 hours.
Yeah, most of the people I speak to don't seem to have worries about their knowledge of the car and knowing their way around that, nor even many of them of Silverstone circuit. It's the vagaries of actually running over 24 hours, which itself is a bit of an adventure, and also over through nighttime running as well.
Modena Motorsports have one of the legion of TCRs. In fact, they have a couple. The 216 is a sequential box version 2 car, just coming across the start-finish line in front of us now. Still weaving, trying to get some heat into the Hankook tyres. Those of you watching the onboard footage, seeing not only the paddles on the back of the steering wheel, but also the big stick shifter on the driver's right-hand side, just gone through what for us this weekend is the first corner at Copse, often termed corner 9 now, turn 9 from the international pit straight. But of course we are running out of the national pit area where the European Le Mans Series will be based in a couple or 3 weeks' time.
Just to pick up on that as well, because a note to ourselves as much as anything else, John, because I understand that the race control are going to be using the Grand Prix circuit turn numbers for putting messages up on the screen. So if we are told that an incident happened at turn 1, it won't be cops.
That'll be Abbey. Right.
So just kind of, as I say, a note to ourselves really more than anything. So an official circuit map has been issued by Creventic, which shows the turn numbers and the corner names.
I have in my hand a piece of laminated paper.
Indeed, A3 size. Is that A3 size?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So for those of you following along at home, turn 1 will be Abbey, turn 2 will be Farm, 3 the tricky right-hander at Village, 4 is the loop, 5 is Aintree, not really a corner because you accelerate straight through it, but it is a deviation. 6 is the entrance to Brooklands, 7 is both parts of Luffield, 8 is Woodcote, again just a little kink nowadays, 9 is Copse, 10 is Maggots, straight across the curbs there, 11, 12 and 13 Beckett's. Gears down, gears down, gears down. Chapel is 14, leading onto the Hanger Straight, and 15 at the top of the hill as it rises up to Stowe. 16 down at the bottom of the hill is Vale, which is also 17 as well, I suppose, 16 and 17. And then Club is 18 and final right-hand corner back onto the international pit straight. However, that all being said, Paul is quite correct. The start-finish line is on the national pit straight, so the first corner people see is turn 9.
Cops.
Yes.
Always be cops, always will be cops.
We'll be calling them by their names, but if we get confused when we're tired, I apologise in advance.
I think we'll revert to type and just call them Cops and Beckett.
Indeed.
A couple of things to mention. You were talking about the 216 car. That is one of the 2 cars that Benny Simonsen is down to drive, and great to see Benny, the brother of Alan Simonsen, driving here at Silverstone in this 24-hour race. And as I say, he's got twice as much of a chance as anybody else because he's got 2 cars that he's driving, and 216 is one, as John just said, of the 2 Modena Motorsport Seat Leons, entered by a Hong Kong entrant. Modena Motorsport may not sound very Hong Kong-ish, but it is, and driven by a variety of pro and, or not really pro, but semi-pro and fully amateur drivers. And a lot of those being Hong Kong-based businessmen from various other countries. Anyway, that's the 216, which currently is in the hands of Wayne Shen and has done a 2 minutes 45. People to watch, Sebastian Blekemolen has already gone quicker than anybody went last year in the night practice session. In fact, anyone went in last year's race even at 2 minutes 15.491. This is the number 100 team Blekemolen TCR Seat Leon. He's done a 2 minutes 15.491, just 0.3 of a second faster than the car that's going to be starting on pole position, the 1 hour competition Seat Leon, currently in the hands of our friend Jose Manuel Perez Alcart, and he's done a 2:15.828. Then there's a massive gap, 5 seconds before we get the next fastest car up, which is, I'm pleased to say, the TCR Audi RS3, the Pit Lane Competizione team car, which was wheeled around by Enrico Bettera, in the Audi RS3 car number 122, but as I say, he's 5 seconds off the fastest thus far. Rules for qualifying, again, we've said this before, but it's quite simple in the sense that you have to do 2 laps, and that's an out lap and an in lap count. Yes, I think it does. 2 timed laps, sorry. So you have to go across the start-finish line for the 2 timed laps. They don't have to be consecutive laps if you don't want them to be, but they do have to be during this night practice session. You also have to have done 2 laps during the daytime, but as I say, you can do them both at night if you want to. So that's why we heard a little while ago from whoever it was, the SP4 driver, that they've got through all their qualifying sessions so far. Car going slowly on the Wellington straight.
Yeah, this is the Mini, this car new to the championship, John Cooper Works Mini, that has been modified from a mini challenge car. A lot of heat coming out the front of that turbocharged BMW engine. The early minis, of course, sharing their engines with Peugeots. This now the smaller BMW unit, and this is a car that is very much in the development stages, looking at the opportunities for making this car competitive over a longer race period. A lot of work being done by Cosworth on the data logging system, and that was very slow indeed.
But not stopped, was it?
No.
It was almost like it was in limp home mode before something gets damaged, rather than something has got damaged. Speaks the boyish optimist again.
Yes, I like that.
But that's my theory anyway. Fastest in the GT4 class, SP3, is the CWS Ginetta. First time that's been fastest in a session. Martin Thomas then in the Ginetta number 178 has set the fourth, well, it was fourth, now it's fifth fastest overall time, 2 minutes 21.087. The reason that is that it's just been overtaken by Ivo Breukers at the wheel of the Red Camel Jordans.nl Seat. So we've got 3 Seats now, first, second and third. Audi fourth, and then the first of the sports cars, the SP3 stroke GT4 class cars, in the shape of the Ginetta of number 178, Martin Thomas, and he's done 221.087. Mark Lemmer is out at the wheel in that Mini, which has just come into the pits. Saw him just before went off for dinner, and he was buoyed up, almost as cheerfully optimistic as I am. Prospects of driving that car. News, I think, from the pits and Joe Bradley.
Yeah, Joe Bradley, as ever, he'd be getting his toolkit out in just a moment or two's time. Joe, what do you reckon this? What do you reckon this is?
Well, I'm just going to. Rather than speculate, I've actually asked someone who should know. The car has driven straight in. The car has apparently limped back on one driven wheel, which indicates the driver reporting a drive shaft issue. So we're just going to... the car, as you can see, just now in the pit garage, and they will go to work. But the driver reporting that very thing. Stewie Hall here. Stewie, have you been given any information? I've been told that the car's limped in on just one driven wheel. Do you know anything?
Yeah, we think it might be drive shaft, but I'm not really sure.
I know you're just a driver. I don't want to be too technical for you. The thing is, though, Stu, this car, brand new to endurance racing, developed from the Mini Challenge car. This is the sort of thing we want to happen tonight, surely, and, get all the trouble out of the way for tomorrow.
Ideally, we're learning every day. We had a day on Tuesday in it where we learned an awful lot, and the same today. So far, it's run really well. Hopefully it's just a little niggle, and we can learn from it and take it into tomorrow, and fingers crossed I can smell gearbox oil, so
yeah, drive shaft.
Yeah, so it sounds like drive shaft. So hopefully, we can learn from it and get this issue out of the way into tomorrow.
Bring on all the issues tonight.
Well, we hope so. Not sure whether I'll get out, but if not, I'm going to go and have some more apple pie.
Let's see. You've got the best man on it, Steve Taylor. Nobody knows minis better than that guy. So drive shaft it is, guys.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Bradley down on long pit lane there with Stuart Hall proudly wearing his BRDC fleece in a still very pleasant evening. The wind has dropped considerably, hasn't disappeared altogether. It was very blowy this afternoon. Paul said blustering. I thought that was a very good description. There's still a bit of a wind blowing across the start-finish straight now, where they're in front of us, where it was directly down towards, behind the cars, they headed down towards Cops. Sorry. Dear me.
Temperatures due, though, John, to drop down to as low as 6 degrees overnight. So
it wouldn't surprise me, Paul, because the last few nights when I've been out at this sort of time, it has definitely been heated seats.
You've been out late.
Yes, I have, with the roof down as well.
And Well, yes, quite.
No point in having a convertible and driving it with the roof up, I always think.
Go along with that.
Yes, it was. We had kind of hard frost, not last week, but the week before around these parts. But it's been down to 3s and 4s on a regular basis if it's clear, and it has cleared up since this afternoon. The fluffy white cloud that we had is pretty much all gone. And this looks to be a chilly evening tonight. The weather forecast for the weekend, at least the one that I saw this morning before leaving home, was actually pretty pleasant for the weekend. Maybe a few splashes of rain on Saturday morning, but that would be cleared up well before race time. Just depending on which way the wind is blowing. And Silverstone, as we were discussing earlier off air, does tend to have a microclimate of its own. But I think if we do get any rain, it will be splashes rather than longer periods of rain. And then a lovely day on Sunday.
Allegedly so, yes. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
It was 23 degrees here yesterday.
That's bad news, because a nice warm day is usually followed by a couple of cold ones. Melvin de Groot is now at the wheel of the 100 Team Bleekemolen Seat, and he will be endeavouring to do his 2 laps of qualifying. As I say, the car already having been driven by Sebastian Bleekemolen, and also a driver change for the 107, second fastest car at the moment in the Monlau competition. Car has switched from Perez Alcart now to Jürgen Smet. Team of 4 Spanish drivers in the Spanish entered Seat, and a very rapid car that is as well, the 107. And I have to say, I don't know if you've had to walk around the back of the paddock yet, John, but you did mention it when we were interviewing the drivers, that the pit accoutrements are very nicely laid out, very professional. The truck is absolutely spotless and immaculate, and then the other side of the service road, beyond where the trucks are, where the motorhomes are, there is the most elegant of all motorhome stroke hospitality units that would have not looked out of place at all in a Formula One paddock a couple of 3 years ago, before Formula One started getting even more silly with
they started building small villages.
Quite, yes, but as I say, the Monlau competition team certainly taking things very seriously, and brought along an awful lot of stuff with them here to Silverstone, and I reckon are going to be a serious threat to this. Pole position already safely in the bag, and second fastest lap, just 0.3 of a second slower than the Bleekemolen car.
Just hearing from Joe Bradley, track temperature currently 17 degrees. Right, out of the pits, here comes the Modena Motorsport 216, which is their sequential gearbox TCR V2. And now, who is in that car as he's heading out of the pits through Beckett's and down into the Chapel complex. 216 is just out. It is indeed John Shen. So just getting up to speed. So this will be a warm-up lap as he comes out of the left kink at Chapel and heads up the Hanger Straight underneath the bridge, which claimed the Porsche earlier on today, and that car's now been withdrawn from the entry list and won't return. Get your braking done long before you turn in at the top of the hill, and get as tight as you can to that right-hand curb. Do not want to be running too far over the left-hand curb and onto the AstroTurf. Very tricky entry into Vale. You can't take the curb on the left-hand side. It is a small garden wall. And then basically the next 2 right-handers are almost, depending on what you're driving, close enough to make into one very smooth corner. If you can get the wheel straightened and turn it in again, so much the better, but it tends to mean that you're going a bit slow. Through turn 1, which is Abbey, and that's pretty much flat in anything. Left-hander is Farm, and then down through the gearbox. Everything seems to happen very quickly at this point. You're going all the way down the gearbox, probably down to second. Hold the middle of the road and drag it over to the right before hard left. And that is the loop, as we've got a BMW with issues. Looks like the engine has stalled, trying to refire. That's the core. Oh, it's a racing BMW. The glowing exhausts And the flame coming out of it would suggest to me that he was trying to get that car restarted. And Court Oyster Racing, that's the 71 BMW. And behind the wheel of that is Peter Clut. And that is on the Wellington Straight, Paul, isn't it? Running down towards the left-hander at Brooklands.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right.
He's right underneath the bridge. So if it starts to rain now, he can't get out and have a look around. See again, flame from the back as he's trying to restart that car.
The bridge with no name this weekend often has a bright sponsor's name on that bridge, but
I am not very keen on what I'm seeing there. The car has fire, literally, in the engine and is moving again to driver's left and heading towards Brooklyn. But yeah, see that much flame coming out the back of a car, you wonder if you've jumped a cog or two on the timing belt or something like that.
Well, unless there's just a lot of fuel in the exhaust pipes, and it's just unburnt fuel that's been sitting in the pipes that's ignited there. I think if it continues to do it, then yes, you're exactly right. Peter Klut's the only driver who's been in that car thus far. So the other three, is it a 3-driver car? No, it's a 5-driver car. So they've theoretically got to get 5 drivers cycled through in the hour and a half of this session, and they've not quite had half an hour thus far. So still plenty of time, provided they can get the car back, and provided, as John says, there's no internals damage, and obviously that's of some doubt, with the car having ground to a complete standstill before Peter Clut managed to get it going again.
On guard Motorsport in the pit lane with Seat. Very, very cost-effective way to go endurance racing, these TCR cars. Pick up a brand new one, well, depending on which version you want, from anything from around about 90,000 euros to about 120,000 euros.
And theoretically, because they're built for racing, they should be more reliable as well, shouldn't they, John?
Well, that's a fair point, and they're built for 20-lap sprints, so if you turn them down a bit...
Then, you know, they're racing cars, though, rather than road cars, so I think it's... you're absolutely right, it's a good way to go racing. What surprised me a little bit was that they weren't the most reliable things out there in last year's Silverstone 24 Hours, because that's why and how Martin Short managed to get his, as it was, an SP Touring car last year, rather than the SP3 GT4 that it is this year. But yeah, so I think with very many more TCR cars on the entry list, 13 of them on the entry list, and whereas we had, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 GT4 cars, we've now only got 6. We've not yet seen, talking of GT4 cars, the Martin Short car out this evening. Now, as I say, they do need to get out, but as John said earlier on, some lubrication problems leading to that team having to put a new gearbox, or not necessarily a new one, but a different gearbox. But, you know, it's Martin Short after all, it doesn't have new gearboxes just lying around. Anyway, there was another gearbox put in that car, and of course, the underlying issue is very much a well centre as to what is causing the gearbox to need replacing. So the reliability that BMW showed last year, not yet being found this, but I would remind those who weren't here last year, or no, tell those who weren't here last year, remind those who were, that they did have a lot of problems during practice qualifying in last year's race. Started from the back of the grid and came through with a pretty faultless run to win the race. Rick Broikers is going quickly in the Red Camel Jordan Seat. Number 303 has done a 2 minutes 15.911 on that last lap, which puts him just 0.08 of a second behind the second place Monlau competition Seat. So it's kind of Holland, Spain, Holland, the Dutch team of Blake Molen and the Dutch team of Red Camel Jordans.nl sandwiching the Monlau competition, the Spanish Seat. Top 3 cars then separated by less than half a second. So the TCR car's not only good, but also very closely matched, John.
We mentioned the lack of a Porsche on the entry list. Joe Bradley can shed some light on that and what has happened to at least one of their drivers. The amended list is out with no Porsche on it. Joe, what can you tell us?
It may be a 24-hour race, but it starts a couple of days before that. And this morning, terrible accident this morning that put one of our runners out. Jamie Lippman was down to drive the Porsche Cayman GT4. Jamie, you're not in a Porsche, you're now in the 138 Seat. But let's start from the beginning. What exactly happened this morning?
Look, Silverstone's our home race. I'm racing with the GTs mostly now, but I didn't want to miss out Silverstone. This is where I started last year in a Toyota GT86, the slowest car on the field, and we had a ball, and that's what started me off in the 24-hour series. It's a terrific series, and really everybody should come and try it once. It's amazing. But I had the opportunity to join OCE LASIK in their Cayman, and they invited me on board, and it was a great drive. We had a couple of pros, and we had Oliver Gavin mentoring us, and it was too good an opportunity to turn down. Unfortunately, Aidan Reid lost the control of the car this morning and had a very, very hard hit down the back straight and hit the actual bridge. Driver's okay.
Was it not Chris Valentine? We were told it was Chris.
It was Aidan Reid was driving. He's an Australian guy. He's racing in LMP2 with Algar Racing, and also racing out with FFF in the Lamborghini Huracan out in China. So an experienced lad, and just made a mistake warming tyres up, and just lost it, and off he went into the bridge. And you know, the worst thing to hit here is that concrete bridge on Hanger Straight.
Now you've managed to broker a deal, and you're now in this beautiful Seat car 138. Lovely livery, but tell me, you don't have to tell me the ins and outs, the dirty dealings that went on, but you're now driving a Seat, completely different car, Jimmy.
Incredibly different car. Basically, as soon as it happened, we realised the car was probably finished. It's a twisted chassis, so it's unrepairable. And I immediately went, well, who's only got 3 drivers in the car? I'm here. I might as well try and get a seat. And there was only a couple of options, and the Seat was one of them. And I went up to the guys, hey, do you need another driver? And I went, well, yeah, okay, what have you got? And we did a deal, and we signed on 10 minutes before qualifying started. And went out, and yeah, it's an incredibly different car. The Porsche's rear-wheel drive, and this is front-wheel drive and turboed. And it's quite a different technique, yeah, for sure. But this is a car, or the same type of car I was driving in Zandvoort last year in the 12-hour. You just get in and do the job. It's, you know, that's part of the fun of it, being able to jump into one car, into another car, and still be competitive. So we're going to run well. We've got really good fuel range in this car. I think we're going to be really good on tyres. And you know what it's about? It's just about finishing. And these guys are all novices, have never done a 24-hour race before. So I'm their veteran pro. God save them.
I was going to say that.
God help them. No, listen, they're great guys, and you know, they welcome you all. Great team spirit. And yeah, that's what it's about. It's about having fun. And I'm really happy Vanquish had let me on board and trusted me to take the car out. And we'll be out a little later.
That's the Kravetnik concept. Thanks, Jamie Lippman, and we'll speak to you tomorrow during the race, no doubt. Thanks, Jamie.
Right, so that's cleared that up, and in fact, I've got to apologise to Mark Valentine, who I think we had in that car for the Chris Valentine, excuse me.
Absolutely, because that was who was on the screen at the time. So yeah, it's good to hear certainly that the driver is okay. And as JM was saying there's 2 pinch points, as it were, on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Most of the time the barriers are fairly long way away, but the bridge over the Wellington Straight, which is just being shown on the TV screens at the moment, and the bridge just leading onto the Hanger Straight coming out of Chapel. And yeah, just cold tyres caught out Aidan there, and that was the start of that accident. JM's car, meanwhile, has just been in for a driver change, the A3 car, from Cresswell to Yarwood, and that's going from Simon Cresswell to Chris Yarwood. And as JM says, he is joining Paul Plant, so that now becomes a 4-driver team, leaving us just 3 driver teams, one being the Synchro Motorsport car, just giving ideas really for anybody else who needs another drive. So the Synchro Motorsport Honda Civic is a 3-driver car. Alan James, Dan Wheeler and Martin Byford. all perfectly capable of driving that car
Yes,
between them,
indeed.
I would think. And the other 3-driver car is the Moss Motorsport BMW M1. Sorry, M1. I knew I was going to call it an M1. It's not an M1. It's an L1M. Wouldn't it be nice if we had an M1 here? Tony Morris, Robert
Do you know
Nolan,
what?
and Mark Armstrong.
You know what? If you had one, Preventing would find a class to put it in.
They might not
Possibly not in this race.
They might not say it's a touring car.
No.
Let's say GT4 cars welcomed to the Silverstone 24-hour race for the first time, looking for things to write home about, if you will. Previous years, the previous year when it was a Creventic race, they were a bit more strict to their category of touring cars, as this year they've invited the GT4 cars along, and as I say, the Martin Short Roll Centre BMW kind of falls between two stools in a way, because it's not a proper GT car. You wouldn't really regard an M3 as a GT car, but then nor is it a TCR car, so that's why it falls into a SP3-GT4 category rather than a TCR class car.
Had GT4, but well, in its day, what would that car have been? Where would we have seen
the M3?
Yeah, it would have
there
been.
There used to be a class called SP Touring, which was special touring.
Yeah.
And to my mind, that's where it fits, SP Touring, and that's what it was in last year. But this year there isn't enough. There aren't enough cars to make an SP Touring class viable, and there were GT4 class cars that wanted to participate. Possibly more, as you well know, John, that could have participated but ended up not doing.
Very busy racing weekend here, and I mean, quite a lot of the Ginetta runners are busy in their own championships as well.
British GT race. No, it's not.
It's British touring. British touring cars have got the Ginetta G55
right, yeah.
Super Cup, of course, this weekend, a championship that I thoroughly enjoyed taking part in a couple of years ago for a race or two. Those cars would have been eligible here, and indeed we do have the Colin White car, don't we, here?
Yes.
I do think that is a very, very suitable car for this type of event. The car that I drove in the Super Cup was actually an endurance spec car.
Yeah, I mean, a G55 GT4, for my money, is it looks the part, it sounds right, and yeah, it's an ideal weapon for the job. I don't know if we can give Joe jobs.
Oh yes, yes. You can task Bradley. Hashtag task Bradley.
I was going to give Joe jobs. Equally alliterative.
Hang on a second, I've got something here for Sam Burns. Can you get the garden sorted when you come back? That's interesting.
When you get to tidy the shed.
Yeah.
Anyway, the job is to go up to ABBA, Team ABBA commercials with Roll Centre Racing and see how they're getting on. As far as I knew, the gearbox was in. So whether they're doing other jobs or what, I don't know, but I don't think this is a short master plan.
No.
Because they do need to get their drivers out there in night practice in order to avoid that grovelling to the clerk of the course that says, look, I know we didn't go out in night practice, but we've all done it here and we're good at what we do. We know Silverstone. It doesn't really matter, does it? You know, it's so far much easier if you've abided to the letter of the law without having to do that grovelling.
Now, by my Casio, it is 6 minutes and 43 seconds past 8 o'clock, and it's very dark already. And this is on a pretty clear night. So I would say, I think sunset is, well, you tell me, Paul, because I know you'll have that written down.
1936.
Fine, yeah.
I think it was half an hour ago.
Yeah,
so,
and that has got dark very quickly. That's exactly half an hour.
Half an hour is the time that the highway code used to allow you to put your headlights on. Half an hour after sunset, you could drive without your headlights on in the days when cars used to struggle with batteries. Anyway.
Struggling with batteries in cars now has something entirely different. Sun up is when?
6:42. Or rather was 6:42 today, is 6:40 tomorrow morning, and on Sunday morning, which is when you really want to know, it's 6:38.
Right.
So, as John was saying, with the hour having gone forward, the sun goes down after 6 o'clock, comes up after 6 o'clock. So, yes, the point being that it is fully dark now. We've got an hour, just under an hour, of this practice session still to go. And not wanting to read too much into the times, for they're not that relevant. Mark Lemmer was saying to me, the only problem we've got, he said, is that some of the drivers, they keep talking about lap times.
Yeah.
And I keep talking to them and saying, don't talk about lap times.
No.
But anyway, we will talk about lap times. Still the 3 TCR cars separated by less than half a second at the top of the list. The 2 Dutch cars sandwiching the Spanish one.
Tweets coming in, plenty of people tuned in. Thank you to you all. Right Turn Lover says, I love seeing the CWS Ginetta. It looks like a baby Corvette at dusk. Let's have a look of that. Only car yet to go out is the Team ABBA commercials with Roll Centre. Joe Bradley is lurking with intent and will give us an update on that car once the garage is open. And
he needs to be in the garage, not in the tent.
Yes, very good. And a number of people asking about Stuart Hall's front-wheel drive experience in race cars. He has none. This will be his first front-wheel drive race car that he has competed in, and he's only had, I think, about a 20-minute practice session before coming to this, but he is a proper pro, and he, like Lemsky, will be fine in that car.
I'm sure he will. I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I had to think. I actually had to ask Joe to go and ask him, because I was trying to run through my head. Obviously, everything that he's done at Le Mans, he wasn't part of the Nissan program, so none of that was front-wheel drive. But I was trying to think what else he might have driven earlier in his career, or even just for a bit of fun.
Yes, quite. I mean, I sort of have in my mind that he would have driven a Mini or something like that in his early career.
Clearly not.
And no, probably not. No, so I'll go with that. So all part of his learning curve. Get to his experience. You find yourself in a front-wheel drive car for the first time.
CWS Ginetta G55 GT4 with the extra LED lights in the pit lane.
Looking nothing like a Corvette.
Well,
but
I can't see when you put the lights on.
Yeah, yes, quite.
Those LED light bars are extraordinary. And the door is just about to come up. In fact, it's coming up now on the Roll Centre car. Big clear water LED lights on the front of that car as well, which are just being fired up as I speak. And being a proud owner of a BMW motorcycle with a pair of slightly smaller versions of those clear water lights, I can tell you they work very well indeed, tremendously efficient, and also when properly adjusted to the road don't provide any glare. Very focused light on them. Very impressed with those. Looks like the engine might have been fired on the BMW. The V8 seems to be thrumming gently. Everybody having a good look underneath, taking out the high jacks so that the car can come down. Joe Bradley is there. Joseph?
As you can see, the car was on the high jacks. It's just come off the high jacks. It's still up in the air ever so slightly on the low jacks. It's kind of the height you would put the car up to change the wheels. There's lots of smoke, but that's because the engine was fired whilst the garage door was still down. So the pit garage filling with exhaust fumes, which is it's an acquired taste, I've got to say. Martin Short, I can tell you, is at the wheel of the car, and it was Martin that gave us the heads up as to the car almost being ready now. So I would imagine they are just basically getting the car up to operating temperature, and we'll be seeing the car back out. The problem was that the car destroyed a gearbox, but that was cause or effect. The gearbox had lost its oil, something to do with the pump, or along the lines of how the gearbox oil was being pumped through a cooler and back into the gearbox, and was basically coming out of the gearbox but not being returned, which of course destroyed the gearbox. Now the issue is, having fixed the problem, or you may think you fixed the problem, you can't really tell until you actually do it. And if the problem persists, you're going to destroy another gearbox if you haven't rectified it. So everybody down here at the ABBA Roll Centre pit, I should say, has got their fingers and toes crossed, and hopefully they have rectified the issue. By the
I'm
way,
saying,
what
Joe,
I'm-
that this car is a transaxle, isn't it? This is the gearbox and the diff on the back end of this car.
That's correct. Yes, it's the gearbox is kind of just in front of the differential, and there's a prop shaft that comes from the engine to the gearbox, which the gearbox is then directly onto the diff. So yeah, it's like a transaxle over the rear axle, and everything runs hot. You can remember last year the car had issues with drive shafts. I think it destroyed quite a few drive shafts in the run-up to the race, and then come the race it ran completely and utterly without problem, and kind of like the team are thinking, surely not, surely this can't be the same sort of picture that we had last year. Well, it kind of is, and hopefully all their problems will go away by the end of night practice, and we'll start the race tomorrow and have a trouble-free run.
Thank you, Joe. He'll keep at the pit out end of things and watch that car. Hopefully it will return. It is the only car yet to have turned a lap on the circuit here at Silverstone. Full Grand Prix circuit with the national pits in operation this weekend. It is the Tim Blakemore TCR SEAT with the fastest time this evening of 15.4, 15.8 for the 107 Monlau SEAT. That is the pole sitter for tomorrow. And the start of the race, a 15.9 for Rick Breukers and the 303 Red Camel Jordan SEAT, a 16.8 for the Modena Motorsport SEAT. So again, those four SEATs, that's the 217 car. First of the SP3 GT4 cars is the 248 Ginetta, the TDF Ginetta 217.4. Best of the A3s, Intersport Racing's BMW number 140. That's the BMW M3 CSL, the Kevin Clark car. We talked to Kevin earlier on. Cup 1 is the RMA Track Days BMW. That's the 156 with Leighton Clark, Tony Rodriguez, James Little and Jason Baker as their driving talent. That's the quickest in that category. In A2, it is the number 91. That is the Area MS machine of Honda Civic. And Stewie Hall, not content with talking to Joe Bradley down in the pit lane, has now joined us in the booth. Evening, Stuart.
Very nice.
Hello, mate.
I think it's warmer up here than it is down in the pit garage, isn't it?
Slightly. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, just had a nice chicken dinner with apple pie, actually.
Lovely, yeah.
So, tremendous.
Obviously a bit of disappointment that the car's having some early problems, but it's early days for this project on this little Mini, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, hopefully we get our problems out the way today. You know, we had a test on Tuesday and ironed out a few little issues then. Today the car's been going really well. And just a little drive shaft issue, I think a drive shaft gearbox related issue when Mark was in the car that the boys are fixing now. So hopefully get it out of the way.
So you give it to Lemsky and he breaks it immediately.
Oh, I don't know about that. You know, no, he didn't. In fairness to Lemsky, it wasn't his fault.
He got it back, he did very well. We were speculating about whether you'd competed in front wheel drive. Did you do the Fiesta Mondello race one time, or is this your first front wheel drive competition?
No, the only front wheel drive experience I've had is I tested a Team Dynamics touring car 10 years ago. Right. And I did the Super Touring historic race here last year in the Silverstone Classic in a Mondeo.
Oh, very nice.
But apart from that, no.
Right.
I raced autocross minis when I was a kid as well.
I said he'd have driven a Mini.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Everybody drove a Mini at some stage, whether on the road or whatever. Obviously very different from what we're usually seeing you driving, although 24-hour racing and endurance racing absolutely up your alley. Have you had much time in the car?
I think I've done 5 laps today and 3 on Tuesday. So
plenty then for you.
Yeah, it's a car. It's got 4 wheels. You know, we're all in the same boat. You know, I've got 4 guys alongside me who are all really experienced, really good. So to be honest, you know, I'm not too worried. The team are doing a great job. They're doing the best job they can. You know, like you say, it's a new car. These things are gonna come and bite us. But hopefully, we get it out of the way tonight, and we can have a trouble-free run tomorrow.
Funnily enough, I was talking to Mark Lemmer just before dinner before between the sessions, qualifying session and the night practice session, and we spoke about how can I put it, whether you should bounce over the curbs or drive it carefully, and what the consequences were. And he said, we'll break a drive shaft if we go over the curb, so we've got to be very careful. Is that something that you're aware of, or are you just not experienced enough with the car to be able to answer that?
I think with any long distance race, bar the big ones, it's going to be all about setting a reasonably good pace and surviving. Le Mans, Spa, Daytona Sebring is a bit of an exception, isn't it? Flat out all the way. But when you look at races like this, you can't be slow, but you can't go and try and do a qualifying lap and smash it over curbs every lap. You're just going to break it.
But to me, the beauty of this kind of a race, and I don't know what your view is, but not one of those cars in the entry list has done a 24-hour test. I mean, they may have done a 24-hour race before. It may have been here last year or one of the other Creventic races, but they don't do the test. So it's much more of a voyage of discovery. It's much more of an adventure to do the 24 hours rather than, as you say, with Le Mans, you've already done 4 24-hour tests before you get to the race.
I've been with Aston for the last 5 years, so we've never done a 24-hour test. 24-minute test beforehand, in fact, not 24 hours, they still lasted. But no, it is an adventure, and it's how you go through the pain of developing a car for 24 hours, isn't it? With this Mini, it's a new car. Like I say, the guys are doing everything they can. It's a great little car to drive. Had a lot of fun this afternoon in qualifying. I've got to learn a lot about front-wheel drive cars, but...
do you left foot brake, naturally?
Well, it depends what I'm in. So if it's a paddle shift car, left foot brake, or if it's a historic, I'll right foot brake. This I right foot brake because we're using the clutch on the downshift.
Right.
But I've got, even though they were dragged out the pub yesterday afternoon to join the team, I've got Lemmer and Kelly alongside me, so they're great boys to learn off. They're really experienced with these sort of things. And in fairness to them, they know how to win and to run a 24-hour race. And as well as, you've got Rob and Max as well, who are super quick. So if we can get this car, working right, I think we'll definitely be in a hunt.
What we're going to see you doing for your day job for the rest of the year? Where will you be plying your trade this year? It's a good question.
Not a huge amount. I'm still up for rent. But no, we're obviously with Rold and Rothko. That's my day job. So we'll be doing some Creventic races in the Merc.
Oh, nice.
It's got a fairly strong lineup for Paul Ricard and Cota. And I think I'll be back out in that Renault later on in the year as well.
That was an interesting challenge as well, wasn't it? Because that's a car that isn't running to the specification that it was designed to run in.
Yeah, no, I think, again...
This is the RSO1, isn't it, the Renault we were talking about?
We went through a huge development process with it, and if you'd gone off the back of the free practice of both Abu Dhabi and Dubai, you'd have said, oh, Christ, that car won't finish. But do you know what? It was a fantastic team running it, and the car didn't miss a beat in both events, and we got a podium in both. So, I'd like to think that's sort of how we like to think the Mini's going to go as well. With the Renault, it's a new car. It's not running GT3 specifications. It's really stifled, I think is the word. It's not up to the spec of the Merc, but we're getting there. And again, that's something that is improving. GP Extreme are improving that all the time, and I can't wait to get back in it.
You mentioned the Merc. I've seen the Mercs up close. Had a good crawl over the Aberrol Centre car, actually, a couple of 3 weeks ago. They're extraordinarily beautiful and well put together machines, aren't they?
Well,
I mean, for a racing car, you are looking at a standard of fit and finish that, you would expect in a road car. Amazing things.
It's GT3 racing is something special now. It's manufacturer based really, and anybody who's anybody as a driver is doing GT3. You get the top few in the prototypes, but you often see them in GT3 cars at some point during the year. And the competition is fierce, so the only way you're going to do well is these guys building top-notch cars, and the Merc, the Audi, the Lambo, the Bentley, and everything. It's just they're super fast now and fairly sophisticated bits of kit.
The old Merc was not a bad. The SLS was clearly not a bad car, very successful, and yet we hardly see any of them still racing. The conversion rate from AMG to the new GT has been extraordinary. Is it that much better?
I only tested it once at Nürburgring with Black Falcon. So, you know, I haven't got a huge amount to compare it with, but you know, I've driven other GT3 cars plenty of times.
Yeah.
And the new Merc is fantastic. The aero it's got for a GT3 car is quite phenomenal. We tested at Donington a few weeks ago, and I was quicker there than the GTE car. Than
Really?
The few years previous practicing for Le Mans. So, you know, it's a real nice bit of kit, and it all comes down to really BOP and things like that. In those
User
races.
friendly?
Oh yeah, I mean, taking it from Rolls' point of view, it's a nice, easy, comfortable car to drive. It's got all the amenities. It's not physical. It's got a nice seating position. All the switches are reachable. It's been really well thought out, and to be honest, that's what you need a 24-hour car to be.
Absolutely.
It needs to be as user-friendly as possible, so you make less mistakes. You can almost drive it robotically on the limit for 24 hours, and places like Spa, that's what you're going to have to do to try and win.
Yeah. Those cars are designed and built for me, not for you, for a guy who doesn't maybe have that much experience, who isn't a full-time racing driver. Does that mean a slight compromise for the pro driver? Or, I mean, you always, to get the last 2% out of a car, it's always going to be you guys that do it and not anybody else. But does it slightly compromise the racing car feel of it?
Yes and no. You know, we try and, for example, I relate to us because we try and set the car up so Rold is as comfortable as possible, because we know if the boss is comfortable and the boss is turning in some quick lap times, that's what's going to help us try and win that motor race. But you've also got to think the pros are going to probably spend a little bit more time in it, so it's got to be a happy medium.
Yes.
And you know, I think
it's no use being a knife edge car, is it? If you're going to get a non-pro driver in it, because it becomes too tiring and more likely for people to make mistakes.
I agree, and I think that's where the GT3 car is slightly easier than an E.
Right.
A GTE car is not an easy car to drive for an AM. It's not got ABS. It's got a little bit more aero. It's a bit on a knife edge, a bit stiffer, whereas a GT3 car is, and I think that's why, you know, as well, it's cheaper, but you know, it's more user friendly, so you get
less
more
expensive. I think. I don't think we
absolutely.
say cheap in motor racing circles.
A small way to make a large fortune is small way to make a small fortune is start with a large one.
Yeah, exactly. So you're enjoying your race at the moment, Stuart?
Yeah, it's great. I'd like to probably do a little bit more, but as every driver, you know, it comes in peaks and troughs, doesn't it? You have good years, you have tough years. I've had some really good years. I'm still having a good year, but just not doing as much as I want to. But that will change. I'm still going to be doing some high-end races this year. So, and even you know, just one-off outings like this in the Mini, it's great because I don't have any front-wheel drive experience. So just to come here and work with a new team, you know, work with some really good teammates, it's a great experience and learning curve for me, because it's another string to your bow.
Yeah, exactly so. Yeah.
So for me, just learning about front wheel drive this weekend is great.
Thanks for coming up to see us, mate. All the best. Tell the team we're asking kindly after them. Good to see that Mini there. It just seems right to see the Mini out here at Silverstone, and best of luck for the weekend.
I'll pop up tomorrow.
Please do. Stuart Hall joining us live here from the new Mini that is just getting a little bit of remedial work done there. Live from trackside, night practice with Joe Bradley in the pits, John Hindhaugh and Paul Trustwell in the booth. Radio Show Limited teamed up with Creventic to bring you the sound and vision. Car 248 team manager being asked to report, and that is the Core Oyster machine, is it not? No, it's not. It's the Ginetta, yes.
Another car that you had to talk about, that Neil Murray was out in a little while ago. Also,
that's actually the fastest car in SP3 at the moment. And we have a safety car running down the pit lane with amber lights flashing.
Bernie Cottrell taking pizza out to Beckett's, I think.
Now, that is interesting. The yellow lights illuminated on the top of that car, going very slowly out onto the track.
Makes you kind of think that they are about to have a code 60. Another car that was asked to go and see the race director. Yes, we are having a code 60.
Code 60. But what's unusual about this, is the fact that that car's going out. What that suggests to me, normally we would have a code 60 and possibly even a code 60 practice. Something I would suggest that Bernard Cotterill, our race director from BRSCC, wants to go and have a look at on the circuit.
He would. No, I would imagine he just wants to look and make sure that the purple flags are sufficiently illuminated, because if the drivers say, "Oh, we couldn't see the purple flags," at night, then Bernie's going to be doing exactly 60 kilometres an hour, and he's going to be checking that you can see the purple flags, and there you can, because they will be illuminated. And as I say, everybody will now have to slow down to 60 kilometres an hour. The other car whose team manager has to go and see race control, except the race controls it got out on the circuit, is the 107, the second fastest car in this session, the pole position sitting Mon La Competition Seat, and that has now had all 4 drivers in it, hasn't it? We saw some shots on the screen a little while ago of Albacano Ramirez giving her description of what it was like to be out there to the rest of the team. She actually had more laps than anybody else. She had 9 laps. Whereas Perez, Eichardt and Jürgen Schmidt both had 4 each. But by getting Alvaro Bajo out into the car now, they are, I think, the first of the teams to have got through all 4 of their drivers already. With still half an hour of this session remaining, Martin Short has brought the 234 BMW into the pits, having done a time of 2 minutes 19. So hopefully all is well with that Roll Centre, Team ABBA with Roll Centre BMW. And
second in class, that lap is good enough for.
Indeed, yes. And I suspect that won't be good enough for them, but no. It certainly is quite a good performance at this stage.
Just a number of our international listeners just pointing out 1 or 2 drivers in cars that they're following. Johannes Graglica, the Wimmerwerk Motorsport,
yes, the Viennese team.
Yeah, the Seat Leon with Felix Wimmer, former Carrera Cup Deutschland runner. Of the others, we have Martin Gasser, who is, in fact, 3 of the other drivers are former Porsche Cup racers, and the other driver, Gunther Wiesmeyer, is a Suzuki Swift Cup driver. So all of them with experience, and just a perfect example there, Paul, of how these teams come together, racers perhaps from different championships who either know each other or are put together by a team, and find themselves here at Silverstone to do the 20. It's the draw of these 24-hour races.
Yeah, I think it's a combination.
And none of them have driven this car regularly. That's not what they've normally done.
No, but I mean, obviously the team is capable of getting the team together, and they will be looking to put together. You get good value in terms of track time per pound or euro, depending how you've paid, and you get to race on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and have that element as well. So no, it's good to see the Wimmerwerken team here, Wimmerwerk Motorsport. And so another team with very good facilities down there in the pits. Talking of which, Joe Bradley is there to provide us with more news. Joe.
A familiar face to the 24-hour series and also to the TCE series is one Rick Breukers. This young man is in the 303, the Seat, a family-run Seat, I think. You're in with your dad. Again, another 24-hour race. What's this one going to come?
Of course, we are aiming for the win. Last year we won in the TCR class, and this year we are aiming in the overall win.
Well, you're not aiming too high then, Rick. Tell us how qualifying went as well as you could expect, or did you expect more?
We were aiming for a pole position. We got P2 at the moment. Unfortunately, in the first few corners, I overheated the tires a little bit, so I was really struggling on the last sector. I think it would have been possible, but it would have been tight. The whole field is very competitive, so it was a very fun qualifying.
I believe this is a new car. It's not the car that we would have seen in previous races.
Yeah, this is the new car. It's the Seat Leon Cup Racer V3. We are struggling a little bit with the setup, but I think we are all right, and we're just looking at the tire degradation. Hopefully we will be set for the race tomorrow.
It's a newer version than the car that you ran last season, is that correct?
Yeah, last season we were running the V1, but we are really happy to have the V3 now.
And is there much difference? You know, you mentioned there the tyre degradation. Is that because the car is a lot different to last year's car?
Well, there is a small difference, but Creventic does a great job at the BOP, which makes all the cars very much the same. They do it with fuel, tyre degradation, and everything, so it's really good.
Did it come as a surprise as to just how quick the 107 Seat is? That Spanish team had it well wound up, didn't they?
Yeah, well, you can clearly see that they are a very professional team, and they are running the Seat for already quite some time. So they will probably have the setup all right, and we are still struggling. So we are not surprised to be on P2, but still, it's very interesting to see the race tomorrow. It will be competitive.
I'm sure. And Rick, I'm not sure if any of our viewers or listeners didn't hear us talk about this in Mugello, but we're getting very close to June, and that's a special month for you because you're going to make your Le Mans debut in LMP2.
Yeah, that's true. I will be driving with Art Bratislava in the LMP2 team. I'm really looking forward to that. A few days ago we had some tests at Monza. We are more close than we thought to the professional teams, and yeah, we are very happy with how things are going so far. I'm really looking forward to it.
And you like driving that car, the LMP2?
Yeah, it's really amazing. The downforce, the grip, and the 300 kilometers per hour, it's really amazing.
Great stuff. Thanks for talking to us, Rick. Best of luck for the rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, a young man on the verge of a very long and I would think profitable endurance racing career. We do have a medical car out on the circuit at the moment. Pretty certain it's only a test. There will be drivers who perhaps haven't experienced Code 60 in the daytime, never mind at night. I think this is a very smart idea. I do like, I've said this before, there's no perfect way to, yeah, and an ambulance out on the circuit now as well. There's no perfect way to neutralise a race, but this to me has fewer disadvantages than most of the others. I like the fact that you, from a safety point of view, that you immediately neutralise the race and get the cars moving at a much slower pace. I like the fact that once you're done, you immediately get back to racing. The fact that you don't really have to mess about so much in terms of the pits open, the pits closed, the packing up of the field, the wave rounds, the pass-bys, the ins, the outs, the ups, the downs. It just makes it a lot easier to follow, and it means you get back to racing quicker.
It's certainly more compact, isn't it? And I'd echo the fact that no, there is no perfect way to do it, which is fair on everybody. The only thing you can do is to attempt to build something which has the unfairness eradicated as far as possible, and I think that's what this system does. I think the other thing that we've seen in previous Creventic races, which I hope is going to be in evidence again here, is that race direction chooses the times when to use Code 60 and when to neutralise the race purely with local yellows. Sorry, you don't really neutralise a race with local yellows, but you deal with incidents using local yellows. And I think that, as far as possible, should be done. Apart from anything else, when you've got a long circuit like here at Silverstone, for example, 5.8 kilometres around, if there is an incident somewhere, if it's weather related or oil on the circuit or something like that, then yes, it may be a fair chunk of the circuit that needs to be neutralised. But if it's just an incident at one corner, it seems an awful waste of a racetrack when you've got 7/8 of it capable of being raced upon. And that's why my preference always has to go back to local yellows. But I think
the problem is, and this is something that I was talking about at Sebring on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Unfortunately, drivers at all levels, including at the highest levels, have not shown themselves to be responsible enough to take account of local yellows and slow down enough.
Agreed. End of Code 60 within 1 minute, by the way, so that's good news. Absolutely right. However, even a local yellow is only going to say danger or great danger, be prepared to stop, no overtaking. that does not mean 60 kilometres an hour.
Correct.
60 kilometres an hour is very slow.
And is absolute.
And is absolute. And it can be easily measured, not only by the timekeepers who do it, but some of the marshals' posts could be equipped with speed guns. I'm not saying they are, but they could be. So even if your instantaneous speed is over 60, then you are breaking the rules. The only time, for my money, where Code 60 breaks down is when somebody's going around at 45 kilometres per hour.
And you can't go past
him. And you can't go past him because part of the regulation is no overtaking.
But Paul, that happens when you're behind a safety car under yellows as well, because if somebody is going... I've been on the radio before when I've been racing, because I've got the car that's causing the yellow flags in front of you driving very slowly, and you're looking at the marshals saying, can I go by, can I go by?
Yeah, and he's standing there with the yellow flag,
shaking his head,
looking nonplussed.
Yes, shaking. And
he can't give you advice.
Exactly right. I did see a proposal that British circuits were going to, as we have got a green flag on the start-finish line, that no one would come out onto the track without there being a neutralisation or a safety car. And whilst I understand the thinking behind that, and that's certainly something that happens in the US, nobody comes over the wall, no track workers go out.
No marshals can go onto the track. Yes, I see what you mean,
if that does happen, I think that would be an awful shame. But I think I understand the reasoning behind it. I'm a big supporter of what our volunteer marshals are doing, and let's not forget there's ladies and gentlemen here are giving up their Friday night, and they've given up their Friday as well, coming down here for qualifying this afternoon, and will give up their Saturday and Sunday, precious time all. And I do not want any of those to be put in harm's way, but by the same token, you'd like to think that somebody who has been put in charge of a racing car would be able to respect the flags enough.
Absolutely right. Going off on a tangent, it's night practice, so I think I'm allowed to. When we had dinner, I don't know if you noticed, but in the suite where we had dinner, there was a photograph of the end of a motorcycle race. I won't say whether it was MotoGP or whatever.
It was MotoGP, it was Marc Marquez.
A chap with a red cross on his helmet anyway. But
it's the one on the other bike.
He was taking the checkered flag, and the man with the checkered flag was standing on the track waving it.
Yep.
And the thought crossed my mind that you do not see that in car racing anymore. And I thought, isn't that a shame? Now, again, going back to what you say, I know it's not safe for marshals to be on the track when there's racing cars going past, but what a nice way it is to win a race, is to have the man waving the checkered flag on the line doing so. Right, that's tangent gone off on.
That's very good.
Back onto the night practice. I mentioned a moment ago that only one car had done or had put its 4 drivers into the car, and of course no sooner have I done that than and the fact the safety car is, or the code 60 was given, has helped matters. But the Blake-Molen car now has had all 4 drivers in it. The 107 Monchau competition Spanish SEAT has, and so has the Breukers car, the 303 Jordan Camel.nl, sorry, yes, Jordan Camel, Red Camel, Jordan.nl. SEAT has also, with Jack Griffion now at the wheel of that one, had its 4th driver behind the wheel.
And by the way, those 2 motorcycle riders, so that you will remember it forever, was Jorge Lorenzo, the 99 on the blue bike, and Marc Marquez on the Repsol coloured bike on the 93.
Okay.
Right, and I will test you on that later in the weekend.
Right, okay, I'll try and remember that.
We've got a problem for one of the TCR SEATs. Maybe something catching the bodywork, certainly smoking from the right-hand side of that car, heading down towards the left-hander of Brooklands and into the darkness, and very dark it is too. As it heads round into Brooklands now itself, it will crawl back towards the pit lane and hopefully to the sanctuary of its pit box. Sorry, it's a good job we don't have any cameras, commentator cams in the box here. Paul Trustwell giving his new headlights a good workout.
Best Christmas present I ever had.
That's
Was it a
I do
birthday
like it.
present?
It's very
It's a
good.
birthday present.
Very
Yes.
bright LEDs.
Very bright.
And able to be recharged from the USB port on his computer. That's a brilliant idea. In has come the Audi RS3 TCR LMS, ABC, FGK.
Is that TCR?
Yes. The RS3, of course, another Audi Sport product, just as the R8 LMS is. The suffix LMS now being reserved for full house Audi Sport cars. And the initial, I think, 18 cars were sold out in less than a couple of weeks. And they are on full speed to build some more of these very pretty, very compact sedan saloon cars with the four-door body shell of those RSs. Very nice car indeed. Let's go back to the pit lane. Joe Bradley has another victim. Joe, who have you got?
Well, you've been waxing lyrical about that beautiful looking Audi. I've got someone who can tell us what it's like from behind the wheel. Zach Arnold, welcome to Creventic. Is this your first Creventic event, Zach?
No, I've been in a few. This is my second one with Pit Lane. We ran here last year with the Seat, and yeah, we're just having a good time with the Audi.
Yeah, what's that Audi like? All right, that's a good point. Let's compare it to the Seat. What's it like?
The Audi drives as good as it looks. It's a delightful car. This is the team's first race with it. They just picked them up here a couple weeks ago, and so it's a little bit of a learning curve for everybody, but it's coming along good.
So qualifying is the qualifying time that the car achieved is no reflection on just how good the car's potentially going to be, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think we're still working on the setup, still trying to find exactly what the car likes in comparison to the Seat. And it is different, so it's taking a little bit of time, but we're getting there.
The whereabouts from the United States are you from, Zach?
Tiffin, Ohio. It's a little town in northwest Ohio, yes.
And what's your racing background? I take it you started racing back home?
Yeah, racing back home in go-karts, and did some SCCA racing. Ran Grand Am for a few years, and a couple starts in the Daytona 24 Hours. And yeah, now I'm here, enjoying Creventic.
Are you guys planning on going to Austin, to quarter at the end of the season?
I'm sorry?
Are you guys planning on being a quarter for the Creventic event, the 24 hours?
Yeah, we plan on running the TCE series, the full season.
Right, I see.
Yeah. So that's our plan as of now.
And you must be looking forward to there is only one other 24-hour race in the United States, and we're now creating another one.
Yeah. That's going to be a pretty cool event there, Coda. That's an awesome venue, and I've been there before. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great stuff. Thanks, Zach. I'll no doubt get a chance to speak to you over the course of the weekend. I saw the car in there with some kind of attention going on from the crew. You mentioned to me about an ABS adjustment. Is that, again, something that you're playing with?
Yep. Working on the settings with the ABS, making sure all the drivers are comfortable. You know, that's one of the biggest deals. Not just because I'm a driver, but
yeah, exactly. You've got to make sure you guys are comfortable. Yeah. Just give me a shout if you're not, okay?
All right, yeah, I'll let you know. Thanks.
Thanks, Zach.
Joe Bradley, good to hear an American accent in the pit lane at Silverstone, and proof, if indeed it was ever needed, of the international draw of the Creventic Touring Car Endurance Series powered by Hankook, and indeed the Creventic events in general. Time has flown by. We are under 14 minutes to go in this hour-and-a-half session. It is very dark. I forget, Paul, until we come back here every year, just how dark it is out on the Silverstone circuit when we are doing these 24-hour races. It is pitch black out there, and the headlights on the cars and any additional lights that they got are the only ones, the only way that you are getting guidance. There are very few places that have overhead lighting.
Yes, that's right. I think there are. I mean, there is curb, not lighting, but what's called the reflective curbing,
studs, yeah.
which is put in there to help. But no, you're right. I mean, it is proper nighttime running on a properly dark circuit. So you know, it's what it says on the tin, I think, is the phrase. And so I think that's you know, the drivers earning their crust. Ian Stinton is now at the wheel of the roll centre BMW. He's just handed it over to Graham Coombs. So, as you say, with quarter of an hour remaining, just over that, or just under that now, Martin's been behind the wheel. Ian Stinton's done his stint. Now Graham Coombs is driving it. So Richard Neary hopefully will still have time to do his 2 laps, and Roll Centre can heave a sigh of relief and go down the pub, or at least heave a sigh of relief and start rebuilding the gearbox again, or taking the gearbox apart to examine how it looks, because that's going to be the crucial worry for that team. But you wouldn't really get a bet against Martin getting it right when it matters, because despite all the chaos and mayhem that seems to surround the man, he does get the job done when it matters.
And perhaps crucially, he's not that far from home base either. St Ives is not that far away from where we are at the moment. So if there is something that has to be taken back for a more substantial look at or repair, even a gearbox, you could throw a gearbox into the boot of a car, whisk it back up to Short Towers, and give it a good look over on a proper bench, couldn't you?
Yes, and it's probably an hour and a half to get over to St Ives, but I think more crucially from Martin's point of view, because he knows the area and he knows motorsport so well, rather than taking stuff back to base, he knows where the suppliers of left-handed threaded sprockets
and the gungle pin
and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He knows where there is a supplier of them that is open late on a Friday night, and he can go and get some.
Or at least he can ring someone up, we'll go and open it up for him even, perhaps.
Go and get it, yeah. And one of the benefits of having Silverstone Motorsport Valley complex
carbon fibre triangle, we're right in the middle of it here, aren't we?
Absolutely. And I say Martin knows who to call, so yes, that is an advantage for him.
Well, we were talking earlier about the Wimmerwerk Motorsport Seat Leon TCR, and it is now in the pit lane with its all-Austrian team of drivers. The Mini is back out on the pit lane as well, with its very funky strobing disco lights on its LED. Now that car's just come back in and is being sent out again. It was spouting flames from the exhaust, so possibly, and I'm not an expert in this, but possibly running a tad rich, that one.
Yeah, so that's not the Synchro Motorsport car, is it? Because those lights are not synchronised at all.
One of the lovely things about LED bulbs is that strobing effects are fairly easy to do on them, and you don't ruin the bulbs by doing them.
Flashing lights.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you used to go to concerts and get flashing lights, and you thought, wow, aren't those flashing lights good? I do, because they went on and off so quickly.
I found a very 1970s rotating orange beacon that was part of my disco gear when I was repatriating about 8,000 records from the northeast back to the Midlands as part of my father's move down to these parts. There's a little self-adhesive battery-powered one. This was. I did have one that Joe Bradley gave me that I think came off a Public Works tractor as well, that was converted to run on mains supply. And at one stage I had two on a roof rack bar, which Joe Bradley refuses to believe still exists in these days, roof rack bars. I had two on roof rack bars that strapped onto the top of my Talbot Samba 1219cc Ernie Larton car.
And you pretended you were from the AA?
No, it was when we were running course car or anything like that in the local rallies, course car or safety cars. And that was hilarious fun, driving that little Samba rally, which I'd come from Belgium, I think, at one stage. Another slow car out on the circuit, and that is another TCR Seat by the shape of the headlights. And there's going to be a lot of this, Paul, isn't there? And no illumination on the door numbers on this car, so that's difficult for us to identify other than to say it's a Seat.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. I see. It was running with no engine power, and then it all fired back up again
as it went past the camera.
And that is the number 266.
That's Wimmerwerk.
Which is the Wimmerwerk car, which has just gone out of the pit lane. So I wonder if they forgot to hit the right switch then, whilst they were going out there.
The the Audi of which we were speaking when we heard from Zach Arnold a few moments ago, the pit lane Competizione entered Audi. Zach, the only American on that team. There's 3 Italians and a Frenchman. There's 5 drivers on the squad for pit lane Competizione. All 5 of them have now been in the car. So they've cycled through, and as I say, it started off in the hands of Enrico Botera, and the other 4 drivers have all had a go now with John Philippi, the Frenchman, just finishing off his stint now. And as I say, they've with 7 minutes of the session remaining, have cycled nicely through their drivers.
Now, Synchro Motorsport is in, and they do have Synchro flashing on their lights. Of course they do, including the rear high-level brake light flashing with the brake lights on the normal light clusters. That very shiny black Honda looking an absolute picture. A 176 car this is, having just come into the pit lane from 22nd position and 5th in the class. That is the A3 class, and bringing that car in.
Yes, I would have thought they would like to be a little bit further up the list than that.
Alan James brought that car in.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Just 3 drivers, as you mentioned, on that car earlier on. I think my licence is within reach. If if they want to add a 4th, it was suggested to me.
Same thing that could be applied to our team. That there's only 3 of us, and we could do with a 4th.
Well, that's a fair point, well made. Can we do swaps, please? It was suggested to me when I arrived here yesterday that there was plenty of time for me to have taken part in this race because of the way the TV and streaming broadcast is arranged. I could just do the night shift for someone in the car, which I thought was an interesting concept, and.
Still time.
Didn't feel that I should say yes or no to that until I'd consulted the responsible adult. Now, what is that coming out of the pit lane? That is a BMW. And that, in fact, is the 71 BMW. That is the Court Oyster racing car that was stranded on the circuit earlier on. James Bridie, the US driver, with... Canadians, 2 Canadians and a couple of Netherlands-based drivers, Netherlands nationality in fact, as well. Now this car has the 156 BMW has the lit grille, which I really like, the RMA Track Days car. So the kidney grille is lit, and that one we should be able to spot at least when it's coming towards us.
The Court Oyster taking his BMW out, and as befits the team owner, he's left himself till last. He's just going out now. How about that? With 4.5 minutes of the session remaining, he's going out of the pit lane. It's a 2.5-minute lap. He'll just get his 2 laps in, and it'll be checkered flag time. So I don't know if that was perfectly planned or just nipping in by the skin of his teeth. But Court Oyster then in the A3 class BMW. Just getting out, and as I say, he is the 5th driver of that 5-driver team to get through the driving duties in the hour and a half of this session.
Vanquish Racing, which is not a Vanquish at all, is it? It's a Seat Leon.
Yes.
No rear lights on that car. That's just come up on the screen for us. Exceptionally dangerous around here, I would have thought. Although, that said now, the amount of lighting that everyone's got on the front of these cars now, it is extraordinary how quickly a very dark track is turned into daylight. One of the things, and we've probably mentioned this before at Silverstone, but it bears mentioning again. Although Paul is absolutely right, there are some reflective markers on the curbs. The white lines at the edges of the track are not reflective. They are white, but not reflective as they would be on the road. So you don't see the opposite side of the road unless you've got curb lights pointing out towards them, and that's what you see with a number of these cars. They have a couple of lights pointing forwards to augment the standard headlights, which have almost in every case been upgraded. But then you have a couple of other lights, like the old rally cars when you had the cluster of lights pointing at a rather jaunty angle out to the sides of the track, trying to pick up the the curbs or the apex of the corner that you are travelling towards. And there's a real skill in setting those up to make it work for the drivers and make them feel comfortable, because there's nothing worse than getting into a corner, turning the car in and realising you can't see where you want to put the car.
That's absolutely right.
Or where you want to exit. That's the exit the corner.
Yeah, and I think that one of the many reasons for having night practice sessions is to align the lights and make sure that your drivers are comfortable with what they can see. And as well, with driving positions sometimes being a bit different, it might be that one driver has a particular requirement which is different from another driver's. So it's all very useful stuff, and it really is a dark art, I suppose, is tuning those lights into the right places. Less than 2 minutes of the session remain, and I hesitate to say a relatively untroubled session in terms of accident or incident as we've gone through it, and even the Roll Centre Racing BMW 234 has just come into the pits. Now, are they going to be able to get Richard Neary out in it before the checkered flag comes out? Because he is, I think, one of the very few that won't have done his 2 laps by night. In fact, if he has done, he's forgotten to turn the switch on his
oh yes, the driver
identifier.
Yeah.
Because it's done now. In fact, he's just left the pit lane. He's not going to be able to get round, but he'll do 1 lap in the night, and that will, I'm sure, go down very well with the race director. And as I say, they clearly have good mitigating circumstances.
I once had to do my laps to get into a race at Snetterton in an RS 3100 Capri. One in the warm-up lap for a Formula Renault race. I ran around behind the field to get a lap, to get my laps in, because I hadn't raced at the track before. And as we had a formation lap and then a rolling start, it was deemed
they counted if you 3 laps.
That if I started the race, then that would be fine, and that would count to the start of the race, which was an interesting interpretation of the rules. But I was very much pleased that the Clark Lacoste allowed me to do that. But of course, that did mean I was careering down the first corner at Snetterton, having never done it at speed, and thought I was doing very, very well indeed, as I saw some very impressive cars going past me, seemingly chained to a post, and then I realised I might have to brake at some stage. The checkered flag is out, and that brings to an end then the night practice. Exactly 9 o'clock in the evening here. Thank you for being with us. Good to have your company tonight, wherever you are in the world. David Drinkwater, normally with the 99 Honda, I think, not here with us this evening, but tuned in. Alistair Darrant, one of the many marshals tuned into us as well. John Andrews, not able to be here, but enjoying the stream. Thank you very much for all the kind comments. We'll, I think, stand Joe Bradley down in the pit lane and allow him to get back into the warm with the news, as the checkered flag is flying just in front of us and to our left, that the Tim Blake Mullen Seat, the number 100 car that so dominated the first 2/3 of last year's race before losing a turbocharger and falling by the wayside, is quickest again this evening, or quickest in this session, should I say, by 0.3 of a second, a 1:15.491. Now that's a couple of seconds slower than we saw in the qualifying session earlier on. The car that will start on pole position for the first round of the 2017 24-hour Touring Car Endurance Series powered by Hankook was in second place this evening. That's the Monlag Competition Seat, the number 107 on a 15.8. 2:15.9 for Red Camel Jordan Seat. Rick Breukers just diving into the pits there, not seeing the checkered flag right at the end. Modern Motorsport, another Seat 2:16.8, the best of the non-TCR cars. In 5th position with a 17.4 was the TDF Ginetta, the number 248. Then it was the Lotus, the 174 car, the car that was on pole position for that class. That with a 2.18.7 and a 2.19 flat for the Team ABBA commercials with roll centre, the 234 BMW, last year's winning car, third in SP3 GT4 and in 8th position overall. Other class leaders, the 140 Intersport Racing BMW with best of the year 3 runners in 14th position with a 220.5. The Cup 1 category, led by RMA Track Days BMW. That's the one with the illuminated kidney grille, the 156 car, 222.6 in 21st position. And the A2 leaders, it was the number 91 that was quickest in that session, and that's Jack Fabi, who was driving that car at the end of the session, or at least when it came into the pits. 226.4, and that car in 28th of 30 cars seen this evening. That's your lot from Silverstone. My thanks to Joe Bradley and to Paul Trustwell, also to Stuart Hall for popping in, and to all of our intrepid camera operators and the technical team behind the scenes. We'll be back tomorrow, Saturday, for the race start for the 24 Hours of Silverstone, round 1 of the 24-hour Touring Car Endurance Series 2017, powered by Hankook. Check www.24hseries.com for all the broadcast details. Thanks very much for being with us. I'm John Hindhaugh. Bye-bye.